on the Bettor Sports Network.
And Singleton has a lane. There he goes. Nick Singleton, touchdown run. Stroud delivers deep down the field. Yeah, it's caught. Fleming. And a walk-in touchdown, Buckeyes, 79 yards.
This is a backwards pass. Advanced on Hyatt. Here he goes again.
Campus to Canton.
What is up, everybody? Good morning. Good morning. It's Halloween weekend here, Campus to Canton on the Bettor Sports Network. Who am I here with this morning? Who do I've got? I got Sean McVay over here. Is that correct?
It is. What's going on, guys? It's a great day to be football. Great college football day.
Go work. We've got Chris. I'm sorry, you dropped the ball here a little bit.
I did. I have a costume for later. Not sure I could wear it on air. So I'm here in spirit with y'all. And what are you?
Cheers, gentlemen. I am Will Levis's favorite snacks. For anybody that has not seen the videos, do some Googling this morning. Will Levis eats his bananas whole with the peel on, and he drinks his coffee with mayonnaise. So I am here ready, hoping Will Levis doesn't come around. He might get me. This is Campus to Canton, guys. Bettor Sports Network. Thanks for joining us here this morning. We'll be here until 10 a.m. Eastern to get you guys ready for everything college football this morning. It is Halloween weekend, so very spooky. We're going to talk about, maybe are there some teams going to have some spooky days here today. But first, guys, a couple of really important storylines before we get everybody ready for the games. First up, favorite Halloween candy. I think we have to have this discussion. Maybe we'll get some people to call and tell us what they like. What do we like to see when we're getting to the bottom of our candy buckets there?
Well, I'm pretty basic, I guess, in mine. I love Reese's, and that's really all I want. I steal them from the great thing about being a parent with kids is we still go trick-or-treating and they get a ton of candy, and I will 100% take my fig off the top there after walking them around and taking Reese's. I'll just be like, oh, look, buddy, here, you got a lollipop, as quick as I can. So yeah, it's easy for me. That's what I love to take. It's exactly what I do every time we go trick-or-treating. I'm looking forward to Monday night. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to have a nice little sugar high before I go to bed myself.
Man, that's just the disrespect. Chris, what do you like to eat? You don't have kids yet, so you can't play that game yet.
No, I can't, which means that when we go out and buy candy for the trick-or-treaters, I got to take mine off the top of that. Be honest, and I know this is going to be an unpopular opinion. I don't like peanut butter, so I don't like Reese's. I've never enjoyed Reese's. I know that's something that people might not know about me, but I don't like peanut butter, so I can't get into those kind of candies. I do, however, I'm on the complete other side, right? I like Laffy Taffy, Skittles type candy. That's my go-to.
Good.
You would be that kind of a guy. As someone
what's that supposed to mean?
As someone who grew up 50 minutes ish from Hershey, I do love a good Reese's. They're probably my favorite. Reese's and Butterfingers. Give me that peanut butter. That's always what I liked. And God bless the people that are handing out full candy bars this weekend.
Oh, I know. Yes,
you're the real heroes.
Candy bars. Those people who give you apples or the little, just the one single Reese's. Come on, people, they're kids. Chris, I do think I can help you here, though.
What you got?
Yeah, that's the best. So here's what you do: you go to the store, go to a Target, Walmart. I assume they have those in South Carolina. I don't actually know, but I assume that you can find one of those great establishments in your great state. You go to the store, you buy a little baby doll, you put it in a stroller, you cover it up. You get you get the little noise maker machine where they just do just a little bit, and then you just push around and say, hey, it's for my daughter. She can't walk yet, but look, she's cute. And then you just get your own candy, and there you go. Then you don't even have to worry about the dad tax. You just get to keep all of the candy for yourself. Go to a different neighborhood, though, because obviously they know that you won't have an actual child. So go somewhere else, but then you just go and you get a bunch of candy for free. You don't have to pay for it. Just trying to help you out.
That is the least ethical thing I've ever heard.
What are you talking about?
Get a baby doll. Get a noisemaker.
Is there Halloween?
Get a stroller.
You don't even have to have a noisemaker. You just put little like baby cries on your phone and just play
Instead
it
of buying candy for yourself, put $150 into this plot.
Oh, it's not $150. Those dolls are like $20.
You can do that plot every year.
10.
It'll pay for itself eventually, Chris. Eventually,
it'll pay for itself first Halloween because everybody loves a little baby. Everybody. So
people are gonna ask what the baby is, though.
Exactly, like stealing candy from a baby. Isaac Newton, a little baby boy, beautiful baby boy. When they try to smack their hand, you say, "Don't touch my kid. I'm just here for the candy. He'll eat it when he gets older." And then you just take a bunch, and then you keep on going.
This is what you did before you had kids.
100%. Yeah,
real kids.
I'm not even going to pretend. Yeah.
Why can't you just send Chris your baby package then?
Mine,
pass it along. Yeah. It's like
mine's a little bit older. The eye's a little wonky now, and it kind of like moves around. Like they might be a little concerned for said baby. It's older, so.
Jeez.
Oh man, this is not where I thought this discussion would go, and I put it on the sheet here this morning. This is Campus to Canton, Bettor Sports. Thanks everybody for joining. No, guys, let's talk some actual football here for a little bit. Maybe we'll circle back again. If anyone wants to call in here this morning, tell us a memorable costume, or just tell us what you got going on today for your college football viewing experience. A fan base that maybe has been a little spooked recently here, Texas A&M. Let's talk about some Jimbo Fisher here. I think this has to be our leading story here today. And for good reason. Jimbo, we've talked a little bit on the show before, has this $96 million contract around his neck. He has, it would basically promised that he's the guy that's going to be there at Texas A&M to bring them to glory here. They allegedly invested all this money in NIL this offseason, brought in the #1 recruiting class of all time over some of those great Bama classes, some of those great Georgia classes, back in the day, USC, Texas classes, better than all of them. They might not make a bowl game this year. Jimbo is somehow on the hot seat, despite still being owed $85+ million of this contract. To make matters worse, this week, 4 players suspended indefinitely for allegedly smoking marijuana in the visitors' locker room prior to the South Carolina game. So much wrong with that sentence. Chris, I'm going to come to you since this happened in your own backyard. I'm hoping you went to the authorities on this. Let's start with just how bad are things for Texas A&M right now? They're not going to make a bowl.
They're not good. Tell you that. I mean, just lost. It feels like any form of authority with this program. You, in any capacity, have 4 of your student athletes be smoking dope. I sound like a 70-year-old man. Be smoking
the devil's lettuce
in the visitors' locker room. They should be doing it anywhere in a football facility. I mean, we know what kids will get up to, right? Like, we know that this is a thing. We know that these athletes aren't perfect and they're kids, right? They're like 18-year-olds. You can't this is just a total lack of institutional control on Jimbo's part. Like, just no authority, no respect, no consequences for actions. And you didn't really have consequences for your actions when he was at Florida State either. Look at what happened there. I mean, they won national championship, but it wasn't always pretty when things were going down there. There's a lot wrong with this Texas A&M team and this program right now. I don't know if they're going to step up and pay this buyout. In the first place, like this is ridiculous. But I don't know what they do, because they had the best recruiting class ever. I'm not sure it's going to be all that much worse this year, but at some point you need results. It ain't happening. It ain't happening soon. I'll tell you that. Doesn't look very good.
Yeah, it's bad. I really don't even know. We'll see if they can somehow save their season. I know they've got supposedly Connor Wigman, the freshman quarterback that they brought in. He was still highly rated. I believe is starting today. So we'll see if he can turn anything around. I mean, they still have Evan Stewart. They still have Achain. They still have players on that team. And it does seem, if you go and look through some of the a lot of the players seem to be tweeting out, not necessarily support of Jimbo, but that they were ready to go. So I know we talked a lot about this earlier in the week. Maybe this was Jimbo trying to take back some control. Because we do know, or what we know, maybe some of you who are not as plugged into the college side of things as we are, NIL is not coming from Texas A&M. Like the school, Jimbo are not deciding to pay these players that have come to Texas A&M. This is coming from boosters who are not necessarily connected to the program in any kind of official capacity.
Wait, it's a wink, wink, nod.
Yeah, exactly. So these players may or may not have been players that Jimbo even wanted, but he's going to take them in there because he's the coach. And as Austin just mentioned, he's getting paid a ton of money. Maybe this was his way of kind of instituting some of that control back and saying, hey, you guys did this. You thought you could do whatever you wanted. Now you're suspended indefinitely. I imagine some of those guys are probably going to enter the portal and be gone at the end of the season. But is that really a bad thing for Texas A&M? If these are a group of guys or kids that are not necessarily listening to their coach, listening to their coaching staff and causing issues, would it be a bad thing if they left? Like, I think the more I've thought about it, it's definitely not a good situation. And I don't think they're going to fire Jimbo for the fact that they will have to pay him $85 million. Like, I mean, at this point, if I'm Jimbo, I'm just like hoping that they call or email me and say, hey, by the way, we're going to let you go so I can just take my money and go home. But I actually think this might be a good thing for Texas A&M in the fact that these kids are going, maybe they're the ones that just don't want to be there. Things are going on. They go, you bring in he's got new recruiting class coming in, new players coming in next season, and maybe they're able to move forward from that. Hopefully Connor Wigman plays well here the next couple of weeks and they're able to kind of go on and have a successful season. You have any thoughts on that, Chris?
No, it's hard to figure out what role NIL is playing here, in my opinion. Yeah. So you relationship pretty well, right? Like the boosters or NIL collectives or like a third party is really the one putting up the money in these cases. It is a interesting relationship. That's corrected this offseason, right? Like we just gave guidance where the coach can now, and the coach and administration can now interact with the boosters and third parties and communicate. You would think that would resolve some miscommunications. What happened at Tennessee with Nico Iamaleava? Like, I think the boosters got ahead of Josh Heupel and them. And Nico, who's an incoming 5-star freshman, huge name, $8 million. I'm not quite sure everybody's on the same page. I think that's going to get corrected. I think you're going to see less of those issues. But I don't think that NIL is really a fault here as much as it is Jimbo. You give it's a couple $1 million, and like it's 18-year-olds, like it's gonna go poorly. But I don't necessarily know that NIL is what like. We're not seeing this issue elsewhere, and I know Austin has said this many times that it's like a specific to Texas A&M problem, which might be true, but I don't know. I just don't want to demonize NIL because I think NIL is like really good for the athletes. So I think it's just placing blame in the wrong place.
No, I agree with you. I actually think, you brought up some of these schools that are doing it right. And I feel like it is the Alabamas. I never like to praise Michigan, but Michigan, Ohio State, they're three of the ones that, like, I know for a fact, like, when they've paid their players or given these NIL deals, it's been to these players, their top players who have been on the team, have been helping those teams win. CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, some of the defensive guys on Michigan, like those starters have gotten it. They're not giving it to these freshmen. And I'm not saying like no freshman should be able to get NIL money, but I don't think it should be. I know Austin has said this a lot before, and so I kind of agree with him. It shouldn't be an inducement for you to come to this university. It shouldn't be, hey, we're going to pay you this so you come here, because then I do think it leads to the issues we were seeing at Texas A&M and Miami, who we haven't even talked about. They're having a lot of the same issues. You shouldn't be paid to come to that school. You should be choosing to go to a school to either play in that system, play for that coach, play for whoever it is that's recruiting you, and then you work on figuring out whatever your NIL deal is going to be. You shouldn't just go somewhere to be paid, because I do think that's going to lead to these issues when you don't like the coach, when you're not getting playing time. What are you going to do? You're going to turn around, you're going to get in the portal, and you're going to leave, or you're going to do things that cause issues in the locker room, on the field. I'm not saying that that's what any of these kids did we don't know the full story. We don't know exactly what happened. I feel like that's the issue, and I feel like I agree with you. A lot of people are saying, oh, well, this is NIL, that it should never have been brought into the sport. No, because it's working perfectly fine at 98% of the schools right now that are doing it. I haven't heard any complaints from any of these other schools with NIL. It's just been kind of these two factors, and I think the biggest thing has been they paid all these freshmen to come in to boost up their recruiting classes, and now it's not working out. Because you even brought up Nico at Tennessee. I haven't heard anything bad about going on at Tennessee. I mean, obviously, he's still been really good off the field. He's actually having a really good high school year. I imagine he's not going to come in next year and cause all these issues. Now, granted, he's still in high school. I believe he can't get paid until he goes to Tennessee. I don't know that for a fact.
He can be paid. California high schoolers receive the money. It was the issue with Queen Ewers, who couldn't get the money at Texas, which is why he enrolled early. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, but he hasn't had, I mean, he's having a really good season actually at Warren High School. So like, it doesn't seem to have really affected him. I haven't heard anything negative about him, Tennessee's recruiting class or anything. So I feel like it is just that it's two places that are struggling with whether it's institutional control that's also leading to some of the NIL stuff and people blaming NIL, but it's just it is a bad situation all around.
Des actually asked a really good question, which you can do if you're listening to the Bettor Sports app and you're on the Bettor Sports app. Do we expect a mass exodus? And that's probably true of really anywhere that's giving big NIL money and it's going poorly. Here's the issue. NIL deals are generally speaking tied to like appearances at your university, whether or on campus or anything like that. So to remain eligible to continue receiving your NIL deal, whatever it is, you need to physically be in or on campus or in that city at worst. A lot of kids are going to be forgoing money if they choose to go into the portal doing that. It might just be like a really gross situation where the kids remain on the roster and just like maybe they're going to try to get out of the contract somewhere. There's a lot of legal issues that are going to come up within the next like 2 or 3 years on a lot of this stuff. There's going to be a reckoning at some point, and it's going to be really bad. I don't think it's going to hurt the kids. I think we're going to have a lot of issues with administration, lawyers who sign these deals, third parties who negotiated these deals. Like, I think it's going to be a big issue. But a lot of kids can't, if they want to keep the money at least, can't leave. You're tied to the school, the university, the city, the town, wherever. That's how a lot of these deals work. You don't just get paid up front. You have to continue doing different things to keep getting that money. Like it's a minimum of like 2 appearances a week or something like that. Yeah. That's how it works. Like, or else you'd see kids jumping ship way earlier. Like that's part of it. So it's an interesting question. Like I don't know exactly what to. I don't have an answer, right? But I do think we're going to see more transfers from maybe lower level guys that aren't getting paid as much.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a lot of rumors here recently that like these coaches and staffs are preparing for like a bigger, more players in the transfer portal than we've seen in a long time. I don't know if that means there's a mass exodus from Texas A&M because we are talking about 6 players here. Like it's not like it was 16 or 26 players in the locker room. It was 6. That's not, when you realistically look at Texas A&M's roster, that's not a massive amount. It's a big deal to us in the fantasy football community because of the names that were on that list. But again, Evan Stewart wasn't on that list. Connor Wigman wasn't on that list. Those are also 2 of the higher rated guys in their class. They did not go and do that stuff. It was Chris Marshall, some of these defensive players. So like, I think we're maybe making a mountain out of a molehill. Is that how the saying goes? Like, I don't think it's a massive deal. I do think it points to some of the stuff with the institutional controls we were already talking about with Jimbo. I don't know that we see a mass exodus from A&M or Miami, again, because we haven't really talked about them having any issues either. I don't think we see a mass exodus, but I could see like some of maybe these top guys that were in that recruiting class that we thought were going to buoy up this number 1 team, make them competitive with Alabama, top team in the SEC. Maybe some of those guys end up leaving and going somewhere else. But again, as Chris, you just mentioned, like we don't know how any of that works with the NIL stuff. That's still a lot. This is brand new territory for everybody, including the people who sign these deals and those kids. So I think there's a lot of questions we won't know the answer to until it actually happens, until a player tests the waters and says, hey, I'm going in the transfer portal. And then we find out what that actually means.
Would we
Go
be
ahead,
having
Banana.
this? Would we be having this discussion if Texas A&M had beaten App State? Because if you look at the rest of their schedule here, I mean, yes, they've been poor this year, even in games that they've won. They haven't been convincing and all these other issues as well. But outside of that App State game, I mean, you look at the games that they lost to Mississippi State, who's been a hot and cold, but a solid team this year. They lost to Alabama by 4, and then they lost to South Carolina last week. Those are their other losses. Like, the losses aren't, it's not like they're 0-8 at this stage in the season. Now, the schedule, you look at the remaining games and you say, which ones of these do they win? That's a legitimate question. There's 1 or 2 in there they probably should, but other than that, it's questionable. But I mean, if they were 6-2 right now, we'd just be saying, oh, this is a young team. Like, wait till they figure it out. Like, give them a year or two. Because it usually takes these top classes. It's usually like their junior year that's really like the big year for them. Like, I think that would be the discussion we were having. Unfortunately, I think that App State game kind of put the initial fuel on this fire for us to go after Jimbo, and rightfully so.
That's a good point. This is a team that was like 5th in national title odds coming into the year. Yeah. So like, we're sky high, right or wrong, right? Like I actually have a Texas A&M. Well, I say have because I guess like anything could happen. But I had a Texas A&M national title ticket because I just felt like the odds were too long. It was like 20-1 or something like that. But that's the expectations that they were dealing. Because I mean, this was a team that beat Alabama. They almost beat Alabama this year too. By the way, although Bryce Young wasn't playing, they almost beat Alabama. It's like this team could be good, and there's a lot of pieces here that I think are good. Some of them are true for just based on expectations and based on what Jimbo has done so far. You got to be really disappointed. Period. Like his whole tenure has been bad. Yeah. Like
I still think we'd be having this conversation even if they hadn't lost to Appalachian State, because they did just lose to South Carolina. And you have to put in, I think, into context.
Hey, what's that supposed
situation to that wasn't expected. Great for South Carolina. They're having a great year. But part of it too, I think, comes into
Prop Master is back.
See, there you go. See, you know what? You said you didn't have a Halloween costume. You could have just gone as like a bearded Quinn Ewers. You could have put your mullet on. You could have had the cowboy hat. You could have been good to go. With this though, like, we can't also take out the locker room thing. That's where I think we're really having this discussion, because we weren't talking about Jimbo being fired up until this point, even though he had already lost to Appalachian State. I know it was a close game against Alabama. They lose to Mississippi State, right? Like we were saying, yeah, it's been a bad year. And I don't really think people were blaming NIL because of that. They were just saying, wow, what's going on? Did they miss? And then this happens, and all of a sudden it's, well, Jimbo's not a good coach. Jimbo this, Jimbo that. Like, so I think we would still be having the discussion, and maybe some of that again is on, I know these coaches like to blame the rat poison media, like Nick Saban likes to say. Maybe some of that is on us too, as we were all hyping up Texas A&M to be like a playoff team. I know there was a very I don't know about famous, a very prominent quote unquote college football analyst who had Texas A&M in their playoffs. So like there are a lot of people who had that as a popular pick. I think it's more that they've just been a really bad team. And then you add on something like that where we haven't, not that I can remember, a situation like that where we've had players smoking, quote unquote, the devil's lettuce in the opposing locker room. It wasn't even in your locker room. It was in the visitor's locker room. Like, that's where things kind of take a weird turn.
They had to relax before heading into Williams-Brice last week, man. Place to play against the top 25 team in the country. I mean, it's not an easy. It actually is a difficult place to play. But no, I agree. The last thing that I'll say on this, and I don't want to speculate too much, but I have heard this a couple times that some of the kids that Texas A&M took in this class were not necessarily desired by other top universities. So if you want to read between the lines of like what that means, I don't think some of them had red flags as like character questions. And I know these are like 18-year-olds, so I don't want to speculate too much about who and what, but that was a legit thing. And I think that may be part of it as well. Like some schools just do that though. Like some schools just take high-end talent. Care. Maryland does this all the time, by the way. Like Maryland is notorious for taking like high 4 stars, low 5 stars that have question marks and bringing them in and like giving them more opportunity than other schools will. I think Texas A&M did a little bit of that, and that could cause problems long term. And I've heard that like a couple different times. So,
well, yeah, I was gonna say I feel like they've done that prior to NIL though too. There's a couple players I'm sure we could name.
Jimbo does it.
Yeah,
look at those Florida State teams. I mean, he's basically been discount Urban Meyer. Yeah. Urban Meyer does it, but at least gets the crimes covered up till after they get out of college. Like Jimbo does not wield that type of authority for whatever reason, wherever he is. Because he's had these issues all over the place. Real quick, guys, this is Campus to Canton here on Bettor Sports. You download the app here, guys. Call in. Hop in the chat here with us. Let us know what you think about Jimbo here. Speaking of Urban Meyer, Jimbo, say he gets fired. Say the Texas A&M, the oil barons, they all get together. Yeehaw! Dadgummit that again, Jimbo. You done get out of here. And they got to bring somebody else in. I'm sure it's. He's got all these props, but he couldn't dress up for Halloween. I don't know what's going on here. If he is fired, where do they go to look for their next head coach? You got to figure it's a person that can bring them to kind of the promised land. There's only a handful of guys out there that really have that kind of a resume, right? And most of them are Nick Saban's not going to Texas A&M. Lincoln Riley's not going to Texas A&M. I mean, there's not a lot of coaches that are on that level.
Well, man, from Dallas, who I think is actually a really good hire? Program builder, took over a bad situation, has done it a couple times.
Matt Rule.
Matt Rule didn't work out in the NFL because I don't think that he has the personality to do it. And I don't think that he is smart enough to run his own system not smart enough. I don't think his system works in the NFL. But he's dang good college coach. Built Temple up, did a great job there. Built Baylor up after the whole fiasco, basically.
Yeah.
Just like
scandal.
Yeah, scandal. Just Baylor's in a really bad place as a program. Matt Rule came in and did an excellent job there. I think a steady hand like Matt Rule is what you need here. Like, I don't think you can go Urban Meyer. I'm not sure you can go Lane Kiffin, which is a popular name I've heard as well. A lot of people want to hire the offense coordinator at Tennessee. I don't know about that one. I don't think that he's the type of guy you need for this job. I think you need like a steady hand. And I like Matt Rule to fill that role. Like, he'd be probably my top pick if I was an old man and from Dallas.
Yeah, Matt Rule makes a ton of sense. Everybody wants to throw out the Zach Kitleys of the world, who's also another high-end offensive guy because they want to see Texas A&M sling it. I don't think that that's the route you need to go here. If we're going to say there is a lot of institutional control issues here, like, isn't that what teams usually do? Don't they usually go the other way? We see it happen all the time in the NFL, and I feel like college does the same thing. I can use Ohio State as an example. You had Urban Meyer, who you could very easily, as Austin just said, kind of put what he's done in the past with programs like what Jimbo does, and then they go to a guy like Ryan Day, who's the complete opposite of what Urban Meyer is. Now, I don't feel like I know he hasn't been. I feel like Nick Saban's been at Alabama for like 60 years. I don't really remember who the coach was before Nick Saban at this point. I feel like he is Alabama. But I wonder if that was the same thing there. Like, you're not going to be able, I think, to bring in a Zach Kitley and just expect him to come in and be able to control this team, and they're just going to become some high-flying offense. I do think Matt Rule would be the best get because he also knows that he'll know Texas, Oklahoma, and that's definitely a different Texas and Oklahoma because of what he was able to do at Baylor. And, I mean, he really brought them back. Like, as Moxley mentioned, I mean, they were almost in like a death sentence scenario with what went on there. They kind of like killed the Baylor program with a lot of sanctions and everything because of the scandal that went on there. And he brought them back into like what Baylor is now behind. Oh my God, I just forgot his name.
Dave Aranda.
Dave Aranda. I wanted to call him Arietta for some reason. Dave Aranda That was actually because of Matt Rule. Like, Matt Rule got Baylor to where it was before Aranda took over. So I think Matt Rule would be a great coach to bring in there because he's also a guy who is not afraid to bring in like a great offensive coordinator and a great defensive coordinator and be the CEO of the team. He doesn't have to call plays. I believe he called offensive plays at Baylor, but he's not a guy who's afraid to bring in coaches and have them do their jobs and him just build that program up.
I think Matt Rule is a momentum killer as far as what Texas A&M is doing right now. Personally, that is not a sexy name. It's a guy that just had an awful, awful time in the NFL. I would say the pros are that he can probably knows how to recruit Texas fairly well. But if you're trying to kind of build this ultimate machine, I don't know that I like that hire very much. I'll go opposite way of you guys. I think Urban Meyer has to be the first phone call you make. I think he has to be. I think he has to
continue driving the program into the ground. Like you say, it's not a sexy name, but you know who was a sexy name that just got hired? It was Jimbo Fisher. And how's that working out for him? Like, it's not.
The thing about Urban Meyer that's different is that he's had success literally everywhere he's been. Bowling Green's best years were when he was at Bowling Green. He went to Utah, was very, very successful there. They took him to a New York Six Bowl.
Notable successful Jacksonville Jaguars coach Urban Meyer. Yes.
Went to Florida, won it there.
Yeah.
Went to Ohio State, won it there. This guy's won everywhere he's been in college.
He has.
I mean, notable Miami Dolphins head coach Nick Saban. I mean, I think just the
that's exactly what Matt Rule could be.
Yeah,
that's exactly what Matt Rule could be.
He has no track record of that.
What was he supposed to do? Win the national championship at Temple? It's Temple. He brought. I was going to say Matt Rule is pretty darn close to. You right, but like that path is kind of similar. Right? If it was NFL flames out, comes back. Was not that was not a sexy name at the time when Alabama hired him. And I think Matt Rule could be similar. I don't want to compare Matt Rule and Nick Saban. I feel like I'm way off course here, but
yeah, let's not go that far. Yeah,
I think
no pressure. Good luck, Matt. That's all we expect out of you.
I think it's a little much. I just wouldn't hire. I don't think you can get near Urban Meyer right now. Pretty toxic.
I get why you would want to bring in Urban Meyer, but I feel like you're just how do I want to word this professionally? You're going to expound on the issues you're already quote unquote having as someone who roots for a program that had Urban Meyer and has heard a lot of the things that went on behind closed doors. You're just going to make every situation worse. So like, if you're just wanting to win a national championship and that's all you care about is like, we just got to get one over on Bama. We got to get that natty. Then sure, go get Urban Meyer. But
that's all they care about. To be fair,
it is literally
it probably is. But I mean, you mentioned where he's gone. And then go look at when he left because, God, my migraines are killing me. I got to take a step back because of these health issues. Or is it really the sanctions that are about to be dropped on these college programs because they're finding out about all the things you were doing that you were not supposed to be doing? Everywhere he's gone, there's been a scandal. Everywhere he has gone.
And a weird health issue directly afterwards.
Yeah, he's got to retire and step back into the media before he's ready to come back and take another coaching job because his migraines have gone away. Or whatever it is.
If you're an A&M fan, do you take 3 really amazing years with fallout afterward if it includes a run at a national championship?
Can I ask another question?
Sure.
Do we know that it's going to be amazing? Because the last time, the only reason I'll be 100%. The only reason Urban Meyer got a national championship at Ohio State is because of Ryan Day, because he was throwing JT Barrett out there and he wanted. God, I'm having a horrible day today remembering names. What is the kid's name who transferred out? He went, Tate Martell. He wanted Tate Martell to be the starting quarterback for Ohio State when JT Barrett moved on. Not Dwayne Haskins, not Justin Fields.
Not Joe Burrow.
Not Joe Burrow. Those guys were brought in. Joe Burrow and Justin Fields were guys that Ryan Day wanted, not Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer was perfectly fine running with Tate Martell. Why? Because he's a running quarterback. That does not work anymore in college football. You have to be able to throw the ball. Urban Meyer was not a big passing the ball, pass the ball down the field head coach. That wasn't until Ryan Day came in there and set those records with Dwayne Haskins. Ryan Day was the one who wanted to go get Justin Fields and bring him into the program. And then Urban Meyer starts dealing with the Zach Harrison and all the other issues that come up. And then he just takes a step back. Like, I think if this was 6 years ago, maybe that works out for Urban Meyer, unless he's decided he tried to do that with the Jacksonville Jaguars. He brings in Darrell Bevel, the run heaviest coordinator, and then they try and run Trevor Lawrence like they're playing RPOs, and Trevor Lawrence go run it every other play. That doesn't work anymore in college football. Another reason why I don't think Urban Meyer would work out. He is in the same with Jimbo, in my opinion, in the fact that they refuse to adapt to the times. It's the one reason why, again, Nick Saban is the greatest coach of our lifetime, because he adapts every time the college football landscape changes. He changes with it. A lot of these older coaches don't. They think, I can do whatever I want. This is going to work for me. I'm going to bring in my people, do whatever we want. We're going to win. I don't think it does. So don't bring in Urban Meyer.
All right, then we'll agree to disagree on that. All right, guys, this is Campus to Canton on Bettor Sports here. Download the app. On the other side of the break here, guys, we're going to get into some betting for the day, talk about little start sits, and we're going to hopefully take some calls too. So we will see you guys in a minute. Campus to Canton on Bettor Sports Network.
Friends, presented by Mayo Media on Bettor Sports Network.
It's not like Russell Wilson's throwing for 300 yards and they're just losing, because of whatever, 31-24 or something like that. That's another thing.
Go out there, sit up in that cold stadium, and come to root on that trash. I feel bad for the Denver Bronco fans. Imagine you taking your family and you say, let's pack up the van. We going to go see the Denver Broncos in the Walmart, guys. Right. And you get out there in that altitude, right? So now the kids already complaining, Daddy, my head hurt. Daddy, I don't feel good. Daddy, I don't want to be here. The Walmart van is up there. How come he's been cut through? My head is hurting. It's cold, Daddy. Can I get a glizzy? And the glizzy costs, great value glizzy, costs $17. Because you got to pay $40 to $45 million for the quarterback who stinks. That's a bad fan experience right now.
Let me give you my Honey Nut Cheerios story real quick.
Yes, tell me.
I'm at the grocery store, and I got to buy Cinnamon Toast Crunch that they eat here. And there's a thing, like buy two, get two free. So it's like Cinnamon Toast Crunch, Lucky Charms, Cheerios, whatever. So I get two Cinnamon Toast Crunches, and there's a Cheerios. I'm going to check my fourth one. And I noticed on the Honey Nut Cheerios, there's a free toy inside. And it's like all the retro 90s commercials. So no one eats Honey Nut Cheerios. I'm going to eat a box of Honey Nut Cheerios. Come on. Just give me that toy. So, and then I'm taking the Cinnamon Toast Crunches off the shelf. And I noticed the ones behind it have the retro toy as well. We'll have three toys in this home.
I still got my adult Happy Meal toys, which they're actually going crazy on eBay right now. You know?
Are they really?
Yeah.
How did we miss?
People. There's some of them that's listed for $300,000. But yeah, you can Fry Guy. You can get $25 for Fry Guy right now.
Oh, that's not really going wild. I thought like $300.
No, I think it will soon though. I'm gonna hold on. I got Fry Guy and Hamburglar, so I'm gonna hold on to them.
Campus to Canton.
Zips it wide open, a total bust, and Abuka's running free. All the way for an Ohio State touchdown.
All right, you just heard Ohio State there, and they have Penn State today. We're going to talk about that game here in a little bit. One of three ranked matchups we have today. A little bit of a down weekend as far as these marquee matchups go, but that's all right because on Bettor Sports. Download the app, guys. Call in. We're doing a little bit of a giveaway here ourselves, actually. And I'm here, by the way. Sean McVay, I believe, has the giveaway items with him of costumes to the other side of me here. We're giving away a couple of signed jerseys, guys. Jackson Smith and Jigba, wide receiver at Ohio State, and Bijan Robinson, running back at Texas. A couple of ways to enter. You can call in here on this show with us and just chat with us for a couple of minutes about anything you want. Literally, we'll talk about anything with you. Give us a call. We're here till 10 a.m. Eastern. You can also either leave a review of our podcast on our podcast feed. It is Campus, the number 2 Canton, or sign up on the Prize Picks app, promo code C2C, and deposit at least $20. And we'll talk about that here a little bit when we give some of our player props, Prize Picks plays for today. That's a lot of sounds. So let's do some betting. Chris, you are just kind of our betting guru guy. So I want to come over to you here first. First off, congratulations on your sicko Yale bet last night. Very, very nice. I tailed that, won a little bit of cash. So thank you for that, Chris. Can take my wife out to lunch today. What do we like today that I can take her out for dinner?
I got a couple. So open was kind of tough to find value, I think, this week. Books are just getting sharper. I think maybe in a couple weeks, they might get soft again with the opening of college basketball a little bit more. So just something to think about.
Is that really a cycle that happens, Chris? That's news to me. I'm learning something here.
Yeah, so they start off pretty soft, and then as kind of like sports winnow down, it gets probably week 7 to 11 are the tightest, and then when college basketball kicks back up, like there's way more people betting on college than there are on like Robert Morris Appalachian State. So it gets softer later in the season. Like bowl time is like a really good time to be betting if you have if you're just like paying attention to information. You can do some damage there. Last year we did really well. So yeah, it's a pretty cyclical. Just because there's not coming in on, and I've talked about this a bunch of times on the show, on like lower level group of 5 games. So like that's where I think you can really do damage.
Interesting. All right. So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it was a good. It was a good point though.
Interesting nugget there. Yeah. So what do we like here for today, Chris? Let's talk some games.
I like a lot on the card. So let's head to 2 Florida schools. Florida State gets Georgia Tech today. This number opened, I believe, at 22, was up to 24.5. Now it's back down to 22.5. Jeff Sims, Georgia Tech quarterback, is the reason for that movement. He is going to play today. I don't think it's going to matter. I think Florida State is pretty good. So I'm going to lay it with Florida State 22.5. I'm also fine taking the first half, which is 13.5. But I think the way the numbers moved, I think you want to be playing the full game. Jeff Sims is still hurt. And if he does have to leave, this backup quarterback, Zach Gibson, who I thought wasn't bad when he played at Akron, he's terrible. Like he went 3 for 17.
And
last play of the game.
Yeah.
Ran straight out of bounds.
Chris, it's a tough choice. Hail Mary, maybe I can win my team the game, or just run out of bounds and go home. That's a tough choice. I can't blame him for that one.
Yeah, that was a lot. And so I think Florida State's just much better. They're like finally getting kind of healthy. I think Robert Scott's gonna be totally healthy on the offensive line, and then Jared Verse seems like he's kind of overcome his early season injuries. So Georgia Tech's gonna have a tough time today. Sticking in the state of Florida, you might have to like pinch your nose, whatever. Miami 2.5. I understand. They got crushed by Middle Tennessee State earlier this year. They got crushed by Duke. They had 8 turnovers last game, 2013 in all of college football. They're not going to be that unlucky this week. They actually played Duke pretty well. Like that final score was not indicative of, I think, how the game went if you remove turnovers for like a sec. I think Miami is substantially better than Virginia. Substantially so. I think that they have better talent. I think they have a better scheme. I trust this Miami staff a lot more than I trust that Virginia staff currently. I do not like what's going on in Virginia. I think we're getting pretty close to not 1 and done Tony Elliott, but maybe 2 and done Tony Elliott at Virginia. I mean, they're just trending the wrong way. Miami under a field goal, I think, is pretty good value here. Don't get me wrong. They had 8 turnovers last week. I know. I think this is one of those scenarios where you need to know when to buy back into a team that the market's kind of faded, or you need to start fading a team that the market's been on. This is an example of the first. The market's kind of downgraded Miami so much that this is the time to get back on Miami, at least in my opinion.
So
Miami 2.5.
I'm seeing. I'm wondering if is a 2.5 still out there. I see 3 right now on a couple different places. What would you take this up to if someone still wanted to bet this, Chris? If they can't find a 2.5?
I mean, you can still bet it.
Is 3 the limit? I mean, 2.5 is so much nicer because it's the field goal. But
I got right now.
You do? Okay. Okay.
So
there you
unless
go.
it's
Download
updated,
BetMGM.
in the last couple minutes. But yeah, I would take it up to a field goal. I don't want, because I mean, at least you have the push factor there. But yeah, I just like the spot for Miami. Yeah, BetMGM. It's still 2.5 on DraftKings. It looks like, and FanDuel. I got a couple books in front of me. So
I'm seeing
unless
3
those,
on DraftKings.
maybe it's slower to update.
Um,
If you could find the 2.5 out there, play 2.5 is where I'm at. If you could find, if it's 3 have access to, you'd still play. I just think Miami's still much better. So that is my thought on the Hurricanes this week. They're not going to be as bad as they were last week.
Gotcha. Well, I prefer my Florida bets in 3s. Do you have another one for me? One more.
Don't.
Come on, Chris. Go to the well. No UCF.
Oh yeah, that game's actually in Florida. You're right. Sorry, I'm not even thinking straight. Yeah, I like UCF as a buyback spot again this week as well. So you got me there. Yeah, UCF -1.5. I think this is where you buy back on UCF. Performance last week against ECU, but again, another one of those games where I think turnovers told a lot bigger story than the game result per se. So UCF 3 times inside the 40, not their 40, so like they scored a bunch of possessions early in the game, and then just kind of like the game got away from them. I think you play UCF -1.5 this week. Game is in the Bounce House, which is in Orlando. And do you know why they call it the Bounce House, Austin?
I was sitting here wondering it. I was going to Google it, but if you know the answer, please inform a poor banana.
So they call it the Bounce House because when the students are jumping around or the crowd is jumping around, the stadium sways, which
that sounds safe.
Apparently it's structurally sound, but that is why they call it the Bounce House. And so I like UCF. Yeah. Sorry, that's what they say. I like UCF -1.5. I think this is where you kind of start fading Cincinnati. Cincinnati playing with way too much fire currently. They almost lost to SMU's backup quarterback, Preston Stone, who does not have a lot of experience despite I like him, but I mean, not a lot of experience. USF is a terrible. I think Cincinnati is gonna have some problems. I don't like the way that their offense is looking currently. I think their defense outside of Ivan Pace Jr. Is going to struggle. And we were talking about, but I don't like the Cincinnati team currently, and I think UCF at home is a good spot to bet them under a field goal too. I mean, you can get 1.5. I think 2's out there. It was a look ahead 2, opened at 2, back down to 1. Now it's 1.5. I think it's going to settle around 1.5 too, which is I think fine to bet. I got a couple more. You want me to keep going?
Yeah, please do. And I'm glad. Right. I mean, that's Cincy and UCF, 2 teams I've had no idea what to do with it all this season. They've been very difficult to read on a week-to-week basis. What they're going to do offensively, what they're going to do defensively. It's been a mess. So that's an interesting game. I wouldn't have thought to bet personally.
Yeah, I don't like Cincinnati. I am very on this week the turnover Lucker versus trade, which UCF was part of that last week. Clemson was also part of that last week, but neither here nor there. Just a little bit salty about losing that one. But let's keep it in the group of 5. Let's head to San Jose State and Nevada. This game kicks off late tonight. Under 44.5. That's a pretty low number, but I question the Nevada side of this and how they get there. I mean, San Jose State can score like 30. I think this number still could be safe. San Jose's front 7 is really good, especially for a group of 5 team. They're probably the best front 7 in the Mountain West. They have some real good players in there. They have really good size too, and Nevada, that's kind of what Nevada lacks on the offensive line. The Nevada's offensive portal as well, so they're still struggling. They haven't really been consistent this year. San Jose State ranks 11th in EPA per rush on defense. So the only thing that worked for this Nevada offense, which is Toa Taua, the running back, I don't think he's going to be able to get a lot of traction. They benched Nate Cox last week. Shane Illingworth came in, was even worse. So if you've been following this Nevada program at all, I think the under there is pretty good. Nevada defense is actually playing a little bit better than people would think. They didn't lose as much in the transfer portal on that side when Jay Norvell took off and went to in conference Colorado State. So I like the under 44.5 in San Jose State, Nevada.
Is there any worry today that San Jose State has a down game? Or thoughts on that? I mean, they did not play last week. For anybody not really familiar with his story, a true freshman running back on the roster I got hit by a bus. I believe he was on his bike and passed away as a result. So they didn't play last week. I was curious to see whether they would end up playing this week or not. I haven't heard that they are going to play this game, but just a weird spot all around for them to be in here.
Yeah, it is. And that's, again, like horrible for the program and everyone involved and the kid and his and his family. That could happen, right? I how hard is it to handicap stuff like that internally with them? But I think they could come out, if you want me to like break it down, they could come out flat on. I think that helps the under. I think that like it's gonna be emotionally taxing, probably. You're a sick man, Chris Moxley. You're a sick man. Listen, I didn't even bring that up. You had brought it up, but no, it's a legitimate thing if you're gonna be betting this game to think about what the implications are of that. And our thoughts are absolutely with the program and the family and everything, but it's an emotional game probably for the Spartans after not playing last week. So it's a weird spot for both teams probably. Okay. Last night, you brought it up. We played Yale -2.5. Yale was a good spot. They were much better than this Columbia team, and the market didn't want to give them 3. It actually ended up closing at 4.5. We got 2.5 when it opened. They crushed them. Crushed Columbia. Now, this number isn't up yet, so you're going to have to pay attention. But Princeton, I think, is going to crush Cornell today. And I don't think the line's going to open up to where it needs to be. So if getting Princeton up to 13.5, and I don't think we get there. I think Princeton could win this game by I think this game should be like 20 plus when it opens, and I don't think it gets there. So whatever Princeton opens at, I think you want to hammer them. They crushed Harvard last week. Crushed them.
Andy Bernard will be very upset to hear this.
Yes, he will. But league lines have been really soft in the past couple of weeks. So I want to be playing Princeton if I can. 13.5. And listen, when I was watching Yale Columbia last night, it was clear like the big disparity between these two teams, like especially on special teams. Like you could tell which team is better coached, in my opinion. And this Yale team, like two blocked punts inside of the 20 for Columbia. Like that can't happen. So I think Prince is a really well coached and disciplined team. Like they don't take a lot of penalties, really good at converting on third down. I think that they're the type of team that you want to back. And I don't think Cornell's very good. So definitely want to be back in Princeton. It hasn't opened yet. It's not available yet. But if it's under 2 touchdowns, probably I'll play up to 16.5 actually. So get it under 17. In case that's my Ivy League line. I got 2 more. I'll go through them pretty quick. South Alabama -9.5. This is the week of the buyback apparently because South Alabama lost this week to Troy. Troy's legit though. Like we talked about Troy on here, and we've played Troy a couple times just because their defense is super solid. One of the better units, probably at the Group of 5 level. They've talked like one of my favorite players in the country, Carlton Marshall, who is like a 5'8" linebacker who's awesome. Gonna break the all-time tackle record set by Luke Kuechly. That's a down spot for them. So South Alabama lost last week. But they are only 9 to 9.5 point favorites, depending where you look, against this Arkansas State team. And Arkansas State team is awful, probably the worst defense in the country. I think there's a couple ways you could play this game. I like South Alabama -9.5, -9. I think it was 9.5 exclusively this morning, but this is a good buyback spot for the Jaguars. Jaguars are pretty good. Carter Bradley has done a really good job taking over this offense, and I like the addition of LaDamian Webb in the transfer portal. Receivers are kind of legit. I mean, this is a team that I want to play. I think you can also play the South Alabama team total. I think that's a pretty interesting number if you're kind of worried about Arkansas State keeping this gross and maybe getting a backdoor. The best number I can find on that is, let's see. out here taking live South Alabama team totals. Okay, you can get a 9, by the way. South Alabama team total 30.5 is not a bad. Over 30.5. That's on DraftKings currently. I think they could get to 31. I just don't like the Arkansas State defense. They've been one of the worst defenses in the country 2 years in a row, and I think it could happen again. So find different ways to back the Jaguars this week, in my opinion. Final game, Charlotte Rice over 59.5. This is available on WinBet. Everywhere else is currently 61, so not really sure why it's lower there, but it's available. Both these defenses are not very good in my opinion, and both these offenses I think can score on the other. Charlotte fired Will Healy after a loss to FIU last week, so Club Lit is no more. But I think this could be a dead cat bounce spot for Charlotte. I just want to target the total. I think 59.5 is a little bit too low on teams that really want to score. I think you can also play Charlotte's plus 16 or plus 15.5.
Interesting. With the fired coach bounce.
Yeah. I think that it might. So Club Lit is no more, right? Will in the locker room, Will Healy on the DJ stand, lights everywhere, music everywhere.
I'll pour one out of my coffee mayo mixture for it.
Club Lit's dead, but that doesn't mean Charlotte can't. 16 points for Charlotte against Rice is a lot of points. Also, there's a lot. This is a game you could play like South Alabama in a couple different ways. So I like targeting maybe the and the over, but that'll do it for my sicko plays of the day.
And one more question for you here, Chris. What game is there any game in particular you're looking at to maybe live bet today? Because I know that's like a kind of a growing thing. People really enjoy the live betting. Any that stick out in your mind as of now that you're paying attention to?
I think you got to start with USC Arizona.
That was where my eyes went to, but I'm an idiot.
It's the highest total on the slate. Yeah, highest total on the slate. The USC defense is pretty bad. Well, they're not terrible through the air, but they're pretty bad on the ground. And so I think that they can probably extend drives. I've thought of a couple different ways that I want to play this game. I actually bet the under 78.5 when it was earlier this week, but it's gone down, which is the point where I don't want to play it anymore. I think there could be just a ton of points in this game, like on both sides. The way that I would bet this, if I had to bet it pregame, would be the USC team total over, I think it's 41.5. I think they could just post a 50 burger on Arizona. Arizona's really bad. But live betting, I mean, if we get like a 3rd and out, or maybe got for 2 third and outs early, like I think you pounce on this total. Live overs.
There we go. So if you're up late tonight and you're watching, well, actually, that's actually a reasonable kickoff for a West Coast game, 7:00 Eastern. So that's not too bad. That's not too bad.
Yeah, look at that.
All right, Matt, let's get you back in here, Coach McVay.
Hey, everybody.
This is Campus Canton here on Better Sports, guys. Real quick, we are here till 10 a.m. Eastern, and then we are going to pivot over. We go over to Homecoming Show, and usually with Corey Parson, Tom Casale. But guess what? You get Tom and your favorite banana this morning. We're going to be talking more college football, and we're going to take you guys right up to that noon kickoff. Download the Better Sports app. Get in here with us, guys, and chat it up with us if you'd like. Tell us what you think of today's games. Let's do a little bit of start sit today. Some players we think are primed for some big days and maybe some disappointing days. And real quick, Matt, you just posted, you believe JSN is confirmed. Jackson Smith and Jigba, he's confirmed out today. Is that correct?
He's confirmed out. He will not be playing again today for Ohio State against Penn State. And then I would not expect him to play probably the rest of the season. If you were asking me, I think he will be out for most of the season.
There we have it.
Things I know.
Interesting. All right. So what will poor Ohio State do without Jackson Smith and Jigba? No other wide receivers on that team that are worth anything. Just hard days there. Matt, I'm going to come to you first here, and we'll just kind of go down the list here. Some of our players that we like here for today. Baron Morton, I'm really interested to hear what you have to say about him.
Yeah, Texas Tech, we already know that they put up a very good offensive system behind Zach Kitley, and you want to start that quarterback in fantasy football, and I think you can start him today. They are playing the 80th ranked passing defense. They're allowing 233 yards per game passing. And the past couple weeks, Baron Morton has put up 29.95, which is decent. You want a little bit more. That's still pretty good for a quarterback on the college side of things. And 40.25 against Oklahoma State. I think he's going to go out there and put up a ton of points today. I'm starting Baron Morton. I think he could be like a top 12, 15 finisher today in fantasy for you at quarterback.
Matt, in one of my college fantasy leagues, I just traded Devin Brown for Baron Morton and a pick. Am I crazy?
No. Look,
Devin Brown,
so
very highly rated freshman quarterback at Ohio State this year.
Third string quarterback at Ohio State currently. He'll be the backup next year. So no, why are you making why would that be a bad trade? You're trading a backup quarterback. He's probably not going to see the field for another 2 years. You're getting a starting quarterback, and you said a first round pick. I mean, come on.
Oh, it wasn't a first round pick.
Oh,
it was a pick.
It was a pick. Well, that's still better than
mid-round
starting
pick.
Quarterback. Still getting a starting quarterback for a guy who may not see the field for 2 years. I personally think we'll see the field for 2 years. So it's a great trade. I love it for you.
Thank you for making me feel better. I didn't sleep very well last night after I did that. Chris, you were all over South Alabama earlier, and you like their quarterback here today too.
I do. Carter Bradley brought him up earlier. I think that they could. I mean, he could have like a 400-yard passing day. Arkansas State ranks 129th in explosive pass plays. It's just a bad secondary, and they have a couple injuries there, so they don't really have the depth to keep up. And I think there's probably 3 receivers on this team: Jalen Wayne, Cullen Lacey, and I don't remember what his first name is, but Vaughn, who are probably among the better trios in the Sun Belt. So yeah, I really like South Alabama offense. I think they can score a lot, and I think Carter Bradley leads the way.
In terms of guys we think might struggle a little bit today, the other side of this coin, you guys were unanimous on your selection here today. So Matt, I'll give you first crack at it here. Garrett Schrader, Syracuse quarterback, going to struggle against the Irish.
I think so. He's obviously very good with his legs. I think he's an okay passer. He's not a guy that you want to, in my opinion, rely on winning you the game with his arm. But Notre Dame is a very good defense against the pass and, honestly, the rush. They are the 35th ranked pass defense, allowing only 202 yards per game. They are middle of the pack on the rushing side of things, 62nd rush defense, allowing 139 yards per game. But I think they'll do a good job at shutting him down. I personally don't think that they've really struggled that much against running quarterbacks. And I know Moxley has talked about how good Isaiah Foskey could be today for the Notre Dame defensive line. So I'll kind of let him take it from there on what they could do against Syracuse's offensive line.
Yeah, I did not look ahead in the show sheet when I filled this out. So that's how we ended up with Garrett Schrader for both of us. But yeah, I think the Syracuse offensive line is going to struggle. I actually don't really want to play anybody on Syracuse today. They had a tough matchup against Clemson last week. Obviously, Clemson's defensive line is probably top 3 in the nation. Notre Dame is still really, really good too. So like Syracuse is going to probably get beat up again this week. They didn't look very good last week. Isaiah Foskey's really good. Like first-round talent, edge rusher, really good. 6 sacks in 7 games this year. He is offensive tackle Matt Bergeron, who I think is okay, but I don't think he's very good. So unless they're going to like double him, I think he's going to get after Garrett Schrader. And Garrett Schrader's value, a lot of it comes with his legs. And so, as we have so eloquently discussed, sack yardage counts against quarterbacks in college. So if he's getting sacked, that takes away a lot of value from Schrader.
Interesting. So you said you're not starting anybody on Syracuse. You're probably also not touching Sean Tucker today. They're starting running back or Rondé Gadsden, the guy that their second-year wide receiver that has kind of broken out over the past few weeks. You're avoiding all of those players if you can today.
Yeah, I am. I mean, I just talked about how I like the front 7. The secondary's 11th in passing success rate as well, and they get Brandon Joseph, who was a transfer in from Northwestern, back today. He was kind of banged up last week, and I think he should be healthy. And that's a pretty tough addition for Syracuse to deal with. That's a really good passing defense. Defense is not a question for Notre Dame. So I don't really want to be messing around with the Syracuse offense today.
Let's head over to running back here. And Chris, I'm going to come to you first, actually. Deuce Vaughn, I played a bunch of prize picks props on him. So this is good news that we're in lockstep here.
Yeah, Deuce Vaughn has been really good this year if you don't put touchdowns into the equation. I mean, he's still really involved. He's still a huge piece of offense, still extremely efficient. Like Mighty Mouse, 5'6", like 175, but just excellent player. Oklahoma State's front seven is good when it's healthy, but it's not currently healthy. And they're missing quite a few pieces in that unit. And I think that they can take advantage. The entire office, I think, can take advantage. But Brock Martin, who can keep the offense honest with his pass rush, is out today. And so I wonder if that opens a lot more lanes up for Deuce Vaughn. And I think Deuce Vaughn could be a very solid. I think he can get in the end zone today. And that's what you want from Deuce Vaughn, because he's already being extremely efficient. Adrian Martinez is, I'm pretty sure, not playing today. Like 95% sure, which means that he's less for Vaughn as well, which is why I like him more than usual this week.
They'll just bring in Walker Howard to vulture him. There's too many vultures on this squad. It's nuts. Matt, who do you like today at running back? Your guy.
I'm going back to the well. Hashtag my guy. Quinshawn Judkins. I know that's actually probably doesn't sound like a great name to start. He's been good to start the season, but they're playing Texas A&M, who has been talked about as like a very good defense. They're 102nd right now in rush yards allowed with 179.38 yards per game. Now, they are 29th in rush explosiveness, which is, I guess, good. But the past couple games, mind you, most of these games splitting the time with Zach Evans, who's going to be probably the third running back off the board in the draft come May or April, technically at the next year. 26.4 points, 33.6, 19, 19, 25.5. He has been absolutely killing it in this rotation. Ole Miss, I think, will continue to run the ball because I think Jackson, you just right now cannot rely on Jackson Dart to win you a game. He's still progressing. He's getting better, I think, every single week. But Lane Kiffin wants to win these games with the rushing attack and his defense. I think you can probably start Judkins every week moving forward. But in case you were worried about him going up against a Texas A&M defense, I would not be start Quinshawn Judkins.
Yeah, really been a revelation there for Ole Miss this year. And they definitely look like they have their succession plan in place if/when Zach Evans decides to leave this offseason, which we believe he will do. Probably a day 2 NFL draft pick. Sitting running backs. We talked a little bit about Syracuse. You're sitting everybody there. Chris, you were really creative with your sits today. You just put all Syracuse guys down here.
Well, that was my sit, actually.
Oh, that's your sit. My bad. My bad. I can't read.
Yeah, I was
I'm
just
a poor banana.
You had to get all excited and be like, we're going to sit all the Syracuse. I'm like, yeah, I was going to talk about that later. As I mentioned, Notre Dame very good against the run. So I would sit Sean Tucker. They're really good at stopping the run. Now, Sean Tucker can still bring you some value in the receiving game. He is a good receiver out of the backfield, so maybe Garrett Schrader will dump off a little bit to him, but I expect Notre Dame to win this game. Talked about this yesterday on Lunch Money. I would be taking the Notre Dame money line. I think they are the better team and will win the game, so I don't expect Sean Tucker to have a massive game today. I would sit him. No, in case you missed the last 5 minutes of the show, sit Sean Tucker.
That's on me for not reading ahead in the show.
No, you didn't put Sean Tucker on there.
You're fired.
You put somebody different. I put Sean Tucker on there. You're good.
Yeah, I didn't mean to steal your thunder on the Notre Dame defense. I apologize. That's on me. I'm gonna head to the 11:59 p.m. kickoff for Wyoming.
Really kicks off?
Yeah, 11:59. That's what time it kicks off. To Hawaii. This game is on the island. But I am sitting at running back Dedrick Parson this week. And I like Dedrick Parson. I actually think he's pretty good. Just like objectively good. But Hawaii's 11.5 point dog to Wyoming. Wyoming, if you had told me that through 8 games that Wyoming was 5-3, I would have spit out my coffee. And I don't have any coffee left. I already drank it all. I thought this team would be.
Here.
I'm okay, thanks.
It's the good stuff.
I don't really put mayo. Well, do you have Dukes or do you have Hellman's?
do I have Dukes? Come on.
Okay.
Now.
Okay.
Look at this.
Now we're
It's the
talking.
only
Where's
mayo
my-
I eat.
Yeah, I got my Duke's mayo right over there. I think Wyoming has outperformed expectations, in my opinion. I thought they were going to be really bad. And I don't like Craig Bowl, their coach. I think he's kind of a dinosaur. He's old, but that's not why. I just think he doesn't know how to really manage the program all that well.
He's in multiple ways. He's a dinosaur. Okay.
Yeah, he mishandled this offseason pretty badly for Wyoming. They had a mass exodus of transfers. But the fact that they are 5-3 is pretty impressive to me because I don't think they're a very good team. But they're 11.5-point favorites against Hawaii, and I think it's going to be tough to get Hawaii's rushing game going because they don't block particularly well, and that's probably the best unit for Wyoming, at least their front seven. They have some pretty good safeties, but they've got box safeties that are actually good. So I don't think that they're going to get a lot going on the ground for Hawaii. And they have Braden Traeger back, their quarterback. They also have Zion Bowen's back, so I think they're going to want to pass more than they had in recent weeks because they were down their top quarterback, because they were down their top wide receiver. So fading Dedrick Parson this week.
This game, that's an interesting game because it's a story of maybe Wyoming we probably wrote off pretty early in the season here, and same with Hawaii, and they've both bounced back, to varying degrees. Neither is as bad as we thought they would be. Oh, I can drink so much mayo with that big. Send that my way, Chris. Send that my way.
Yeah, I bought it for the Duke's Mayo Bowl last year, which yours truly won. But yeah, I got my Dukes right here.
Love it. It is truly the best mayo. We're not sponsored, but we'll have to call them and get Duke's mayo.
Yeah,
if you want to be like Will, if you want to play like Will Levis, you drink your Duke's mayo every morning with your coffee.
Yeah,
you too.
I'm just saying they could be a sponsor. That's true. Dukes, you have your people.
Not sponsored. Yeah,
all our people.
not sponsored.
Could be.
Yeah.
Yep. Also, Chiquita Bananas.
We'll take whatever. Wide receivers. And Matt, I'll come to you first here. And this, you're gonna talk Cedric Tillman here, who's been out. I'm scared to start him. I need you to convince me that this is okay. I should do this. I think
scared money don't make money.
This is Matt and I play each other in a league today, probably one of our bigger leagues. And I have Cedric Tillman currently on my bench. I feel like this is a mind game.
No, not at all. So look, he's obviously only played in 3 games this year. First game, 12.8 points. Second game, 31.2. Is he better than Jalen Hyatt? That's not rhetorical. I'm asking.
I have $1,000,000%.
Then why won't they force him the ball in a game they need to win against Kentucky? Because Kentucky actually has a good defense. I don't think that Jalen Hyatt may get you some points today. I'm just going to go ahead and say he's my sit for the day. Sit Jalen Hyatt. Start Cedric Tillman.
Ooh,
I don't think they're going to let Jalen Hyatt get deep on them, and I think they're going to force feed Cedric Tillman because he's the better wide receiver. Start your Cedric Tillman shares. He's going to score 20-plus points for you today. Jalen Hyatt, less than 10.
No worry about the ankle for Cedric Tillman.
No,
he's missed the past, 4 or 5 weeks?
All week long. He's good to go, baby. They were holding him out until he was fully healthy. Josh Heupel said it. We're looking not only about him for the short term, but for the long term. They waited for him to be fully healthy. They didn't need him. He's ready to go. No concerns whatsoever about the ankle. Fire him up. He's good to go.
All right. Then I'm going to do it. And if I lose to you, I'll know where to find you. Chris, who are you starting today?
I'm basically sticking in house today with all my plays. Just totally riding off.
Correlated plays. Look at
correlated plays, baby. I'm starting Elijah Cooks, wide receiver for San Jose State. I think that he's absolutely the best wide receiver on this team. I think Justin Lockhart is a very good too, but Cooks is the man. I don't think this Nevada secondary is good at all. I think the front seven's a little bit better than their secondary is. So I like Cooks, and I think when Cooks and Siobhan Cordero, the quarterback, get cooking, good things happen.
Love it. And then, Matt, you already said you're sitting Jalen Hyatt today. That'll probably come as a shock to some people, though, he's been kind of their guy to really step up while Tillman was out here.
First round wide receiver, Jalen Hyatt.
You don't think he can get another long touchdown or something going on here? It's really interesting because when Tillman plays, his role is completely different. They really didn't use him as like a field stretcher when Tillman was. They were using him as like a quick, slant possession type guy, 5, 7, 8 yards at a time. And then when he was out, obviously they were sending him deep. So it's an interesting dynamic. I wonder how they break out those two today.
Yeah, you mentioned it. They used him different when Cedric Tillman was not there. Cedric Tillman And when Cedric Tillman was there, Cedric Tillman is back. He's going to be the guy. I just think he's the better wide receiver. I think they're going to find a way to get him the ball again in a big matchup. I mean, Kentucky's defense is not bad. I don't know that Will Levis and the offense will be able to keep up with Tennessee, but if it is a decent game, I think Tillman will be the guy that they go to. I think that defense will be ready to try and probably put someone over the top of Hyatt so that he doesn't beat them deep. And if that's the case, I don't think he has a big day. Will he get one long touchdown? I mean, maybe. I wouldn't bet on it. I'm betting on Tillman, clearly.
So I still think this is an elaborate mind game. I don't trust you.
I'm not that smart. I'm really
Matt is trying to get
as he's out here going, I'm gonna go buy a baby doll. I'm gonna buy a thing to make baby dolls.
Look, when it comes to candy,
look, I'm gonna get all this.
When it comes to candy,
but he can't. He can't.
When it comes to fantasy, no, I don't think that. I don't think too much into that.
Chris, sitting Luther Burden.
I am. The Missouri wide receiver had what I thought was probably one of his best games last week. Probably his best game. I mean, he was kind of breaking out in a role that we hadn't seen him used yet, but he's probably going to be lined up against cornerback Cam Smith all game. And Cam Smith is the South Carolina corner who's probably going to be an NFL first rounder. Really good coverage corner. It's a tough matchup for Burden, who I think Burden's getting there, but I don't think he's quite there yet. So they may scheme him up touches in the backfield or have him rush a couple times, but that's not going to be sustainable enough to actually earn a start, in my opinion. So I am sitting Luther Burden. Terrified of that game, though, for South Carolina, because I think that might be a letdown spot. But neither here nor there. But I will say with Cedric Tillman, though, and Luke in the comments is talking about this as well. He has an NIL deal. This is how he announced he was coming back, by the way. An NIL deal with Moonshine Mountain Cookies in Knoxville. That if he does score 2 touchdowns today, anybody who goes to both Moonshine in downtown Knoxville gets 2 free cookies. That's a reason to start
today.
That's a reason to start him.
He's getting people cookies today. We're all for it.
Man, kind of sounds like a euphemism. Cedric Tillman about to get us all some cookie. Go Cedric. That's really. I actually didn't see that. That's really funny.
Look, I'm just going to be honest with you. If Tennessee wins tonight or today, I guess they play this afternoon, don't they? Don't play tonight. They win this afternoon, and if they win again in 2 weeks, there's gonna 9 months from now, it's gonna be a baby boom down there in Tennessee. I'm just gonna let you know that right now.
A lot of little Cedrics and Hendons running around.
Yeah,
maybe a few Jalens.
Not a few, not a lot.
Not a lot. All right, guys. We talked a little bit earlier. This is Campus to Canton on Bettor Sports. Download the app here, guys. Hop in here with us. Chat it up. Give us a call. Tell us about what your NIL deal would be. Would you go for cookies too? Prize Picks, guys. We have a partnership with Prize Picks at Campus to Canton, and here's how you can get in there with us. Prize Picks, a player props app. If you download that and use promo code C2C when you sign up, it gets you an initial deposit match up to $100. And if you deposit at least $20, it gets you $29.99 toward any membership that we have over at campustocanton.com. And we give a bunch of plays every week. We've done pretty well. I believe last week we gave out 12 plays and we were 9-2-1. Is that correct? One was a push and 9 hits. So
yeah, we had one that the player didn't end up playing, which
okay.
doesn't kill your parlay, just knocks it down one. But yeah, we were on fire last week.
Yes, I personally was 8 for 10, and I am 2-0 so far this week. So we're cruising here over in the Banana household. Matt, I'll come to you first. What are some of the plays that you like today on Prize Picks?
Yeah, so I'm going to start off with Chase Brown, the running back for the Fighting Illini, and I'm trying to double check it. It's still at 130.5, which sounds like a lot. I guess it is kind of a lot of rushing yards, but I am taking the over here on that. Nebraska's allowing 190 yards per game. They are 40th against the run right now. And the Illini does not rely on any other running back. It is all Chase Brown. Chase Brown has gone over 130 rushing yards in every single game but 2, which was against Chattanooga, which is a little weird. And then he missed it by 1 yard against Wisconsin. Chase Brown is going to go over this. They are legitimately fighting for a Big Ten West title right now. I think that the Illinois team is actually a very good team. I think they are going to run over Nebraska today, even though they have looked a little bit better under their new interim head coach. But I think Chase Brown is in for a great day today. I'm taking the over on his 130.5 rushing yards.
Does it give you any pause? Supposedly, Josh McCray is supposed to be back this week.
He is
the backup running back there, like a 240-pound, thumper kind of a back. Went out early in week 1. He is going to be active this week. I don't know how many carries he's going to get, but does that worry you at all on that line? No.
Not at all. They, in my opinion, they are fighting for that Big Ten West Championship. Why would you change what's already working? Like, do I think Josh McCray will at some point get some carries? Yes, but when we came into the season, we legitimately thought this could be like a 60-40 split, maybe even closer to 50-50 between Chase Brown and McCray. I don't think they're going to change that with how good. Like, Brown has been legitimately one of the best running backs in college football this year. I don't think you then pull the reins back on that player because you have a guy coming back off injury who I don't even know is necessarily better. I don't think he's better.
Here's a hot take for some folks out there. I think a lot of CFF analysts, college fantasy football analysts, got bailed out by that McCray injury in week 1 because Chase Brown was really highly ranked in a lot of people's lists coming into the season. I think McCray would have really eaten into that workload. So I really think that some people got bailed out on that one. What else do you like today, Matt? Sorry.
No, you're good. Troy Franklin over on 16.5 receiving yards versus Cal. They are allowing 273 a game, and him and Bo Nix have just been clicking the past couple games. Now, he's only gone over 60, or he's actually gone over 60 all but 3 games this year. Cal is just a bad defense. I know some people have this as a trap game where they think that Cal might be able to come up and get Oregon. I don't necessarily think Cal is going to be that good. Oregon, I think, is set on trying to win a Pac-12 championship as well. And again, him and Bo Nix have really been clicking. Bo Nix is playing amazing so far this season. I think I would easily take the over here on Troy Franklin as well. So all it really takes is one big pass, and that he's cashed the over for you here.
Interesting. And he's been very efficient recently on all of his touches too there. Yeah. And then Quentin Johnson, you like his line?
I do. Over on 16.5 fantasy points here. He's going up against West Virginia, who I think you could say their defense is poopy. It is not good. Their passing defense in particular is very bad. They are 126 in EPA per pass attempt, and TCU, I believe, Moxley said the other day, is like 4th. I can't remember the exact stat on that, but West Virginia is giving up a ton of explosive plays. That secondary is just bad, and TCU is, again, I've been talking about this for the other 2 teams. They're battling for a championship. They're the only undefeated team left in the Big 12. I know this is going to be a tough game for them. They're going into Morgantown, noon game. West Virginia has actually had a pretty tough schedule. I don't think that their record is indicative of how good that team kind of is. I don't think they're a great team, but I think they are a decent team. But that defense is really bad. I think Max Dugan and Quentin Johnson are going to be able to get over on this defense. So take the over on his 16.5 fantasy points. I think he can easily get you 100 plus receiving yards and a touchdown, and then that cashes the over for you.
I like all of those, Chris. What do you like today? You've got some interesting ones on here. I want to hear what you have to say.
Excuse me. Yeah, so this is a team that I'm fading. I talked about it earlier, but Brandon Armstrong, the Virginia quarterback, over 25.5 rush yards. Here's why. Miami's 117th in tackling. This was an issue for the team last year, too. So I don't know how under 2 different coaching staffs, they're still bad tacklers. It might just be the players at this point. They have allowed over 23 yards in this quarter. Zach Wilkie had 26, who is the Southern Miss quarterback. Max Johnson, 23. Chase Cunningham, 29. Drake May, 35. Grant Wells, 35. And Riley Leonard, 61. This team cannot stop mobile quarterbacks. So I'm going over Brendan Armstrong, 25.5. I think that number is a little low because he is pretty mobile. I am also going to be on Allie Jennings over 7 receptions. The Old Dominion wide receiver basically is the entire offense for the Monarchs. He has hit this in 3 of his last 5 games, and he has gone over double-digit targets in 4 of his 7 this season. He's a 53% receiving market share in this offense. I think he probably has a bunch of targets today. They're going to need to rely on him. I really like Allie Jennings over. And then I got 3 here that I'm gonna put together actually.
Oh.
So we have not used these on the show yet, and I am excited.
Yeah, they scare me. I haven't played them yet.
I got 3 kicker field goal props. First is Joshua Carty, Stanford kicker. These are all over 1.5 field goals. I think Stanford can move the ball in this UCLA defense, but I don't necessarily know if they can finish drives at a high rate. They've really struggled to do that this season. And I think Joshua Carty, who has made every single field goal that he has kicked so far, I think he gets it done today. I think he gets probably 2 field goals, maybe 3. I think that is a good spot for the Stanford team who needs to put up points, but struggles to finish drives a little bit. I am also on Jack Podlesny, who is the Georgia kicker, for the same reason. I think Georgia is going to score a bunch, but I think they might get stalled a couple times. I think it only takes like 1 or 2 stalls in the red zone for this to happen. Jack Podlesny is a very good kicker. I think that we see him hit this too as well. And then the kicker on the island at 11:59 p.m. John Hoyland, the Wyoming kicker, who leads the country in field goals attempted with 19. We're going over 1.5. The Hawaii defense is not very good, but Wyoming is so conservative. And this is the same thing I liked about Joshua Carty, too. These are not teams that go for it on 4th down. Stanford and Wyoming, no interest whatsoever. Craig Bowl, David Shaw, don't want to do that. John Hoyland, who has 19 field goal attempts, 2 more than anybody else in the nation. We're going over. He's made 89.5% of his kicks. Really good under 40. Gets a little dangerous when it's outside of 50, but I don't think necessarily that he's going to have to kick that many over 50 because I think that they can drive the ball down the field. You just need them to not finish a couple drives, which I think is possible. I like this Wyoming offense a little bit, not a whole lot. So give me Joshua Carty, Jack Podlesny, and John Hoyland all over 1.5 field goals.
Phew. Man, I'll start playing some field goal props. I'm gonna wait to see how you do this week, Chris, and then if they work out, then I'll start researching those for next week. Because that's a fairly new group on there. I believe we have someone attempting to make a call in here. So we're gonna try to get them situated here, and see if we can get them on. In the meantime, I'll just toss out a couple names real quick that I like here for this week. Deuce Vaughn's fantasy points. We just talked about him as a start this week. His fantasy points total is at 18.5. I think he smashes the over on that. Congratulations to anybody that got in on the Raheem Sanders line early this week. It was originally at 16.5 fantasy points. I took the over on that. It has now moved the whole way up to 21.5. Somebody messed up at Prize Picks headquarters there. Xavier Valade projected rush yards 105.5. Colorado has one of the worst rush defenses I've ever seen. The running back there for Arizona State, I think, can get it done. And then I actually really like Kendry Miller, 107.5 rush / receiving yards. I think he just gets that on the ground here today. He doesn't even need the receiving, but I think he'll get way over that anyway. All right, let's bring on a guest here with us. I believe it is Luke, friend of the show, joining us here today, out from the Midwest. Luke, how's it going today? What do you got going on here for us?
Well, I was thinking about my NIL deal, and for every dollar that gets contributed to my fund would be a yard for the Iowa offense. I think that would really help us out here in Hawkeye Land.
Just $5 is all you need. It's like one of those In the Arms of an Angel commercials. For just $2.99, you too
for
29
cents a day, you can help fund the Brian Ferentz or Kirk Ferentz buyout.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It would be great. I think it would really help us out.
Love it.
I love that. That's a great idea.
This, how's Iowa? Is Iowa going to cover today? 11 points.
I think so. Northwestern. I just think that Iowa defense will be good enough.
They're
So
going to win 11-0.
That helped get.
Here's the question. What are we playing the under in that game? This game opened as the lowest total ever, 31.5 ever. It's now up to 36.5. Which way are we going?
Oh, you're taking the under on 36.
I would take the under.
Y'all are some dangerous people.
Yeah, I would take the under. Luckily, it's at Iowa. If it were at Northwestern, Iowa, for whatever reason, like, it just has a hard time playing at Northwestern. So if it was at Northwestern, I would have definitely taken the under. But yeah, I still think I would take the under. Probably have a shake up there at quarterback for this week, and we'll see how it goes.
I think you could argue Iowa struggles playing anywhere, but I guess.
Yeah, but especially at Northwestern. I don't know what it is. It must be the lake effect.
That's exactly what. Blame it on the lake effect. Nothing else. Blame it on the lake effect.
Nothing else. It's just that. So, first of all, I'm deeply saddened to see no Felix today. I know he would have had some fire takes that would have turned Austin's banana into a banana split. I'm sure he would have had some great content for us this morning. So very sad that there's no Felix. But my question for you guys talked about Halloween candy earlier. There's this house that has full-size candy bars every single year. They move. You go there, you're kind of expecting a full-size candy bar, and you open the door. Do you get candy corn or do you get a full-size candy bar? What player did you expect to have a great season or do well, and then this year has either met or exceeded those expectations, or they were your candy corn and you're like, what am I supposed to do with this? Who are your two players?
Oh, there's so many. Matt, you have any?
I mean, I know who's exceeded. I mean, the Reese's has got to be Quinn Ewers, right? I was trying my best not to talk about him all show, but since you asked, I'm going to go ahead and throw him out there. Expectations met and exceeded. He's my Reese's. Candy corn. That's a good question, though. I don't know who. Oh, I guess I'll go the easy. It's Jackson Dart. I mean, I literally told Chris Moxley he was stupid to think Jackson Dart wasn't going to be better than Caleb Williams. So, whoops. Like, that was a massive L on my side of things. Like, I really thought him going into Ole Miss and playing with Lane Kiffin, he would be much better, especially what we saw from Matt Corral last year. I thought Jackson Dart could at least replicate that, and it has not looked anything close to that. So I would say he's my candy corn, and my king, the prince who was promised, is Reese's.
All right, I'll be honest. I was all in on Lou Nichols this year. Thought he'd be great again. Turns out you can't replicate a near 2,000-yard season in back-to-back years. I had a couple injuries, and I got candy corned on Lou Nichols big time. And candy corn stinks, so it really, really hurts.
It's terrible. It's
just to say.
It's worse than my mayo coffee. It's terrible.
You mean your great mayo coffee?
Well, it's only great because it's Duke's. Again, Duke's, call us.
True. I'll say my big candy bar was the Georgia Southern offense. This is an offense that I was like really, really in on this offseason, and they proved me right so far. Like Kyle Ventries, they're slinging it. Derwin Burgess, Caleb Hood, Jalen White. I mean, this is a really fun offense, and it was a team that I was excited to see play offensively. Their defense is still terrible, but that is my full-size candy bar. They exceeded expectations.
I'll drop mine real quick, and then we're going to head to break here. My full-size candy bar is Real Abanaconda. As a Pitt fan, one of the top running backs in all of college football this year, been great, exceeded expectations, especially after that week 1 showing. My candy corn has got to be Lorenzo Styles. Pour one out for Lorenzo Styles, wide receiver there at Notre Dame. Granted, not great quarterback play, but I thought he would be their go-to guy there, and he just has not hit the heights that I thought. So we are Campus to Canton, guys. Oh, Charbonnet for full size candy bar and Brennan Armstrong for candy corn. Those are both really good ones too. Brennan Armstrong, especially. Yeah. He might be the candy corniest of all the candy corn this season. Yeah. All right, let's head to break here, guys. Campus to Canton on Better Sports. We'll be back on the other side of this. We're going to pick some of the big games of the week and get you guys over to homecoming. Stay tuned for after the break.
The Playbook with Fensty and Ronis, presented by FantasyAlarm.com. Weekday Eastern.
Brees Hall is down flat on his back, surrounded by the Jet training staff.
Yeah, absolutely sucks. You hate to see him go down 4 for 72 and a touchdown before getting hurt. I thought if we were doing a redraft today, he probably would have went in the first round. He's probably well on his way to winning Offensive Rookie of the Year. It's just terrible. He's been fun to watch. We were taking his props, and you hate injuries. You hate seeing players go down. Brees Hall's just brutal, and I have him in a 14-team league, so it really, really hurts because he was making up for my Najee Harris stupid pick in June. Like I said, only league I have him in, as I dug deeper and I said I don't want Najee Harris. So now I have to rely on him, which is not good in a 14-team league. But it really, really sucks to have one of the most exciting young running backs in the league go down.
Better Sports Live with Rick Kamla at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 Pacific.
Carolina is just dumb. They're just dumb. They don't get it. They hired the wrong coach. They hired the wrong OC. They traded for the wrong quarterback. They made the wrong trade here with San Francisco. It's wrong. It's just wrong all the way around. You have to get a first-round pick for Christian McCaffrey. The deadline, folks, is November 1st. So if this were October 31st, cool, strike the deal. You waited. Out there for us. Cool. Let's pull the trigger here. 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th. Let's do the deal with San Fran. Because this deal would be out there the whole time. San Fran's not going anywhere. If they think that they might get McCaffrey, taking it all the way up to the deadline, they're not shipping out their 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, and 5th round picks in the future. They're going to keep them just in case Carolina wants to pick that phone back up and say, yo, let's strike a deal. This is dumbassery by the Carolina Panthers front office. Why are you doing this now? Oh, we don't want to play Christian McCaffrey and have him get hurt, and then we have no trade. Come on, man. Be more creative.
However you're invested in sports, from betting to fantasy, collectibles, and more, join our community on Better Sports Network.
Hooker pulls and throws a touchdown, Tennessee. Jalen Wright. Hyatt, rather, his 5th of the day.
All right. Tennessee.
To Canton.
Tennessee, a team that we're looking out for here today. And we're going to talk about that game here coming up. This is Campus to Canton on Better Sports. We've talked Halloween candy. We've talked Jimbo Fisher. We've talked prize picks. But let's pick some of these big games here this week, guys. We've got, as I mentioned earlier, 3 ranked matchups. We've got Florida, Georgia. So some good ones out here. But I want to start with this Ohio State-Penn State game. Last time we picked Penn State on the show, we thought Penn State could maybe cover against Michigan. They did not. Ohio State, I believe the line is still at 15. Is that the number we're all seeing here? 15-point favorites. Chris, who do you like here in this one? Oh, I think we lost Chris. Matt, I'll come to you first. Who do you like in this game? I'm going to be shocked by this, I'm sure.
This is... I'm going to take Penn State in the points, and I don't. And so here's why. And I've been wrong on this. I've actually picked against Ohio State covering every game so far this year. When I've talked with Kyle and Ray on Lunch Money on Fridays. But here's the thing. They're going into Happy Valley, and I know this offense is great, and they can be explosive. They didn't play well last week against Iowa. They really haven't played, in my opinion, incredibly great with JSN being out. JSN has been the guy who's had this great connection with CJ Stroud. And I think Marvin Harrison, Mecca, Julian Fleming, like all those guys are still working that in. The running game has not been good. Like Mayan Williams has been more than fine. He has been good since Travion Henderson's been out. But when both of those guys have been in there, it's been a little bit weird. They have not been able to necessarily get their game going together like they were last year. Penn State has not lost to the Buckeyes since 2016, which was the last time Penn State beat Ohio State in Penn Valley, or in Happy Valley. I doesn't call it Penn Valley. In Happy Valley, But every game since then has been within a 10 to 11 game score. They have not gotten blown out. For whatever reason, Penn State always plays Ohio State tough, and James Franklin always does a really good job of keeping these games close. I don't know what it is about it. Every team has that team, right, that they just kind of struggle with. And I think Penn State is that team. So while I do think Ohio State could cover the 15 and possibly win by more, I think we just have a bad taste in our mouth because of the Penn State-Michigan game. I don't think Penn State's that bad. So I'm going to take Penn State and the points. I think they keep it to like a 10 to 11 point game, as they have for like the past 6, 7, 8 years.
Yeah, they do tend to play Ohio State pretty tough. I'm going to take Ohio State in the points here. I think they'll put Porter on Marvin Harrison Jr. I think he has a bad day. I think Emeka Egbuka is probably the one that carries this offense, especially because they get him involved in so many different ways, on jet sweeps and things like that. So I think Emeka has himself a nice day. I can even see Julian Fleming having, he caught that long touchdown last week. I don't think he'll have, 8 for 160 and 3 or anything, but 2 or 3 catches in the touchdown, I think would be solid for him there. But I do think Ohio State keeps this thing rolling today. I think they beat Penn State. Honestly, I think this could be a 3-score game. I really do.
It could. Like I said, it's hard for me to pick it because I know the history. I mean, it has been a very close game between both those teams for a long time.
For sure. Chris?
James Franklin has never lost to Ohio State by more than 14 points? Yeah. That's scary.
Until today.
I just don't have a sexy take on this game. I do think Ohio State is probably the prohibitive favorite to cover doing so, but I don't want to be laying any money on this game. I will pick Ohio State, but keep that in mind about Penn State.
All right, let's go. Florida, Georgia, big rivalry game here every year. I don't know if this is the biggest line they've ever had on this game or not. 23.5 points. It is? Okay.
It is in the last 20 years at least.
Wonderful. Georgia prohibitive favorite here. Chris, I'll come to you first here. I mean, this is still Georgia even with that big of a spread.
Yeah. I don't like this Florida team really at all. So Anthony Richardson, here we've talked about him a lot on the show. He has a 6 to 7 touchdown interception ratio. He has one FBS game above 185 passing yards, and he has a 56.5 completion percentage. That's pretty bad. Georgia's defense allows 0.89 points per drive, a 32.7 success rate, and 4.61 yards per play, all top 10. Don't know how the Gators are going to really post more than like 17 points. The Gators defense, 109th in EPA, 109th in defensive success rate. They are 130th in late down success rate, which means that teams are converting 3rd and 4th downs at an incredibly high rate against this team. Georgia's going to continue to extend drives. I don't know how Florida can keep up in this game. The Georgia offense has been very good, top 10 in pretty much the same categories in terms of, just success, explosiveness, for drive. There are 2 ways to play this game. 2.5. That's fine. I think you could also play the over. I think Georgia's probably going to get 40 plus points. And then you're asking Florida to hit their team total, which is out there on a couple different places. I don't think that's crazy. I think Georgia could post 50 burger, to be honest, in this game. Florida's defense is pretty bad. So two different ways to play this game. But yeah, I think Georgia is the cover god here.
Big Brock Bowers day?
Possibly. Don't see why not. They don't really have a guy who can cover him. I don't really like their secondary all that much.
Yeah, patented big Brock Bowers day. I think one's coming here. What do you think, Matt?
Yeah, it's a lot of points, and it scares me a little bit, but I think I would take Georgia. The one thing with Richardson is I do think he could have a decent game. So they're coming off a bye, right? So maybe Napier and those guys were able to put something together here. Richardson has looked decent in some games. So can he come in here and have a Utah-type game? I do think that is in the range of outcomes. But if I had to bet money on it, I would take Georgia and them covering. Like, that team is just too good defensively and offensively. as Moxley just talked about how bad Florida's defense is, like, I don't know how they find ways to stop Georgia's offense. And then if they don't do that, I don't know that Anthony Richardson can keep up. Again, my biggest fear, though, is probably would have said the same thing about Kent State and Missouri, and they were able to limit Georgia to less than like 20 points. So I with games like this, rivalry games, was it the big cocktail party, right? Like
largest cocktail party.
Cocktail party. Yeah. Man, it worries me taking that much points. Like what Moxley said about Ohio State, I feel about this game. I just feel like there's a way that Georgia will find a way to stay in this because it's a rivalry game. Like they're going to be amped up for this game. I personally would not bet anything on this, but if I had to, I would take Georgia in the points.
One thing that concerns me about the Florida side scoring is that Georgia's top 5 in line yards, but they're top 10 in passing down line yards, which means that Anthony Richardson scrambling today might not be in the cards. And if he's not able to use his, could spell trouble in Gainesville.
That's an interesting tidbit there. I'm with you guys. I'm taking Georgia. Luke is in the comments. He says Evan Stewart or Ashton Genty today. Evan Stewart, freshman wide receiver at Texas A&M. Ashton Genty, freshman running back at Boise State. And full PPR, who do we like today? I think I'd probably roll Stewart. But what do you guys think?
Yeah, I agree.
And Luke has inside sources. So is
Helani back?
Helani is back. Helani was back last week, and Genty actually left last week's game, but they've said Genty's good to go.
Man, see, I'd be afraid to play Stewart, to be honest. I don't know if they're going to sling it much with, like, I know Wigman's the better quarterback, but I feel like they're going to try and take the ball out of his hands.
I don't like this Ole Miss defense very much.
I probably prefer Stewart personally, but
I'll go GNT to be different. But
there we go. We'll split it down the middle. Why not? All right. Oklahoma State at Kansas State. Another one of those ranked matchups. 9 Oklahoma State, 22 Kansas State. Kansas State, 1.5 favorite, which is really, you wouldn't have thought that would be the, what's going on here necessarily. Oklahoma State been pretty sharp. Beat Texas last week, made Quinn Ewers look bad for a lot of that game.
How dare you? Look bad.
He went 19 for 49.
And?
Just saying.
Falling behind for more dramatic victory.
It's better than I could have done.
Yeah. What would you have done against that defense, Mox?
Sean McVay won Georgia Player of the Year as a quarterback over Calvin Johnson when they were both in high school, by the way. So I don't want to hear it, Mr. McVay.
I did. That's why I can tell you Quinn Ewers did not look bad.
I've always said Sean McVay was a better athlete than Calvin Johnson. I've always said that.
Many are saying this, yes.
Now that I have this piece of information, I'm sticking to it even more than I was before. Red Starbursts are the best, Luke.
Yeah.
Get out of here. People say pink. Nah, red. Red's so much better. All right. Oklahoma State, Kansas State. We're talking Adrian Martinez is a true game time decision. We'll see what happens with that. Chris, who do you like here?
I like Kansas State, actually. And I would bet Kansas State -1.5. I'm pretty confident in this one.
Wow.
As confident as I can be in should be like a 50-50. Right?
I like this coin flip. I love this coin flip.
I like Kansas State a lot this week, actually. I don't think Martinez is going to play, but this line tells me that Will Howard is. And Will Howard is not that, in my opinion. It's when Will Howard was hurt last week that things really went off the rails. First 26 plays for Kansas State last week. 11.7 yards per play. 303 yards. Last 27 plays. 87 yards. 3.2 yards per play. That's when they were both hurt. I think Kansas State's offense is going to do some damage today. They had 3 total plays last week in the red zone, but they only punted once. They had a 22% explosive play rate. I think just variance gets them a lot more points this week. The thing that concerns me with the Oklahoma State side is that they have a lot of injuries on this defense. Like, they've been adding up. I talked about Brock Martin being out earlier, which is why a reason that I like Deuce Vaughn. They're also going to be down Jason Taylor, who is probably the best safety in the Big 12. That's pretty concerning because he's a key to their secondary and makes a lot of things look a lot easier. I don't really like this Oklahoma State team. I think this is a spot to fade them, especially because they barely beat Texas last week. I know what the end of game numbers looked like. 52% post game win expectancy. They only hit explosive plays 9.2% of the time. They were just choking. And I think Kansas State's defense is going to be a lot better at containing those. So I'm on Kansas State this week. I actually think it's a good spot to start fading Oklahoma State, who is in the country.
Do we start tossing around the F word here? Fraudulent?
Oh yeah, I'll
F word, obviously.
Yeah, they're frauds.
I will say we have doomed a couple teams with that word, so I wanted to make sure. We said Kentucky was fraudulent. They've lost a couple games since. We said that Ole Miss was fraudulent. They've struggled since. So I don't want us to cripple a team if we don't have to. That's just
Oklahoma State's frauds, man.
Woo! All right. Sorry, Oklahoma State fans. Sorry we had to do it to you, Matt.
Yeah, I agree with Moxley. Not only am I taking Kansas State, and I'll take the points, I would take the Kansas State money line. I think that they're going to win. Well, I guess they're favored, so never mind.
I was going to say, I think that's better odds.
Yeah, my bad. No, it's not. But I think that they're going to win this game fairly easily. It's not even a thought process for me. You said that they beat Texas. What was Texas succeeding against Oklahoma State last week? Fairly easily. It was running the ball with Bijan Robinson. And while I'm not trying to say Deuce Vaughn is Bijan Robinson, I think that Deuce Vaughn and Will Howard will be able to get yards on the ground. I think what screwed Texas last week is Sark moved away from that when he didn't have to. And he started having Quinn pass the ball a ton when he was struggling in that game. I don't think Kansas State's going to go away from the run. I think the defense will be just fine. I'm taking Kansas State. I agree. I think Oklahoma State are frauds. I do not think that good. Not only mention the injuries Moxley just mentioned on the defense, they've got some injuries on offense too. Spencer Sanders is not fully healthy. Dominic Richardson's a little bit beat up, so I'm taking Kansas State.
Shun the non-believers. I'm taking Oklahoma State. I would take Oklahoma State money line here. I think so. Here's what's going to happen today. There's no Richardson this week, right? He's out, injury.
I don't think he's going to play.
This is the week where Ollie Gordon is finally unleashed. They'll play hot hand in the first half. Gordon has been very good in limited opportunities there. He's outperformed Richardson on a per touch basis. That they finally figure out what they've got in that backfield. True freshman Ollie Gordon. He's going to lead them to victory here today. Over 100 yards, a couple of touchdowns on the ground, some actual efficiency out of that backfield is going to make a world of difference for Spencer Sanders, for that group of wide receivers. Give me Oklahoma State money line, and I think they win this one. Kentucky, Tennessee. Anybody? Oh, Matt, are you going to say something?
I was going to say good luck. That was all I was going to say.
I'm just saying.
Betting on frauds.
I'll show you guys. Kentucky at Tennessee. Tennessee an 11.5 point favorite on this one. Tennessee's going to kill him, right?
Yeah. I like Tennessee. I actually think Tennessee can cover this number. So Tennessee defense is a little
Uh, 111th in EPA per pass attempt. Front seven isn't really good enough for the quarterback. 300th in havoc. The best thing that this offense does, or defense does, though, is limit
explosive plays on the ground. So I think you're basically forcing Will Levis to throw the ball around, and I don't know that's a good recipe for success. Tennessee offense, I mean, we don't have to say a lot more about it. I mean, they just posted, 52 on Alabama?
Yep.
I mean, this is a really, really good offer. 49 Alabama, I don't remember exactly. Kentucky ranks 107th in getting at pressures, tackle for loss, high rate, which is havoc. Even without havoc, Hendon Hooker's the top 4 quarterback in the country. I just don't know how Kentucky slows down Tennessee, and I don't know necessarily that their offense can keep up. The one concern I do have, which is why I am not going to play this number though, is that Kentucky ranks 130th in plays per minute, which is second to last in the whole country. They play very, very slow. They'll probably try to muck it up, try to control the ball. Can Tennessee then cover if the game goes a little sideways like that? I think yes. Actually
make it play.
We'll have to talk about havoc sometime, Chris. Not today, but sometime in the future, because it is an interesting, little nugget of information. Some of these games here, Tennessee. What do you like here?
I'm taking Kentucky in the points. I do think it will be a close game. I know. I think, again, maybe it's – I just talked about Penn State. Maybe we're letting one game affect our mindset here with how they put 52 points up on Alabama, and then they turn around and put up 50-plus on UT Martin. Kentucky is definitely not Alabama's defense, so I get where you can be concerned there, but I think what Chris just said is a big point. Kentucky's not going to play fast with Tennessee like Alabama did. Alabama was going and trying to score for Tennessee. It's why that game got to the point that it did. I think Kentucky's going to try and run the ball. They're going to take the air out of the ball, per se, and try and slow the game down. Maybe Kentucky scores right off the bat, but again, I think they're going to try and limit Jalen Hyatt. You already mentioned earlier in the show, Austin, Cedric Tillman doesn't do what Jalen Hyatt does. I don't know if they're going to have these big explosive plays every single drive like they did against Alabama. I could see this being a little bit of a lower scoring game. I think Kentucky stays in it a little bit here. I would take Kentucky in the points.
I hate this line, but yeah, I think Tennessee ends up covering barely. It's like a 13 or 14 point game at the end of the day. Just finally getting the gang all back together. I think that they're rolling right now. I mean, I really do think that they've got momentum. There's something to be said for that. Kentucky been a little hot and cold lately. And real quick, Better Boss in the chat just asked, once they get in a Devy League, when is the best time to do a startup draft? Off season's usually the best time. You can do them anytime throughout the year. I think I like knowing who's going to go into the NFL before I draft in the off season. Just make
after what's that? January 19th?
I'd say right after the draft. I think is the best time to do it.
Yeah, I like that time of year. Kind of gives you a good idea of everything. Makes it, even as the playing field out a little bit. But any time of the year works. There's someone in our that works with us at C2C is doing one right now. So you can do them any time of the year. Never a bad time. Last game here, guys. Ole Miss versus Texas A&M. I don't feel great about it. Picking either side of this, Chris. Help me out here, please.
I feel similar to how I felt about Miami when I talked about them earlier.
I think this is a spot where you buy back in on Texas A&M. I don't like what we've seen from Ole Miss the past couple of weeks. We labeled them frauds, showing that they're fraudulent. The defense we thought was okay. It's not good. So I'm rolling with
Give me Ole Miss. I think they bounce back.
I'm going to take Ole Miss too. No Devils let us in the locker room this week. Thanks for joining us here today, guys. Campus to Canton homecoming show coming up next year. Tom Casale and yours truly, your favorite banana. We'll see you guys next week, 8 to 10 a.m. here on Bettor Sports Network.
Are you wrapping the bananas? See the next show?
I have tried to figure out if there will be costumes. I might be doing a very quick wardrobe change in the next minute and a half.
Just roll with the banana. Roll with the banana.
I've been told no costumes. Now it's a conundrum. I'm Pam on The Office. I don't know if I should show up.
You can keep the mayonnaise in the coffee though.
Oh, that'll work. I'm drinking this anyway. This is my protein beverage. All right. Have a good week, guys.